Okay, so on today's episode, I talk to my friend Michelle Chalfant, who I have had on the podcast before. She has the podcast Adult Chair, which she's actually just changed the name to in the last couple of months to the Michelle Chalfant Show, which is epic. And she's just released this book that we talk a lot about in the episode, The Adult Chair. This is such a profound methodology that she's created. I was actually explaining it to Sammy, one of my PTs, this morning, and how profound and powerful it is, because she literally has the three chairs in her office, like the child, the adolescent, the adult, and, moving the client from each chair, understanding things like how their conditioning was created, why they made the choices they made, why they do what they do because of what happens in childhood up until 6, which is the child chair, then what happens in adolescence, and then what happens in the adult chair. Like, we want to be in the adult chair. That's the chair that we're gunning for, people. So super interesting conversation. Really love the book, so go out and get it. All the information's in the show notes. And I want to just have a little mini geek out on her human design, because she's a 4/6 emotional generator, and she's the cross of the freaking Sphinx. Like, they are everywhere. They are everywhere in my life. Like, yes, universe, I get it. I'm absolutely about to take a turn in a different direction. I really do feel I've got a good awareness of what that direction is, but hey, who knows, right? The Sphinx is at play. But I am just loving these external clues. Like, these sphinxes are everywhere. They were all over Austin. I've been interviewing them for the last couple of weeks. Like, it's crazy. So anyway, wanted to geek out on that. Now, one of the things that I love about her design and what she talks about is she talks so much about emotional health, and so much about, feeling emotions, experiencing, not disassociating. And as an emotional being, that's what she's here to do. She's here to be really wise about emotions. She's here to help other people to feel their emotions, to transmute their emotions. So the fact that so much conversation was about emotion, and she's an emotional authority, I felt like was so bang on. I also want to geek out a little bit on her core talent, of course, her core wound and her core talent, because that's the thing that I so often, it's one of my favorite places to look in the chart. And it is the shadow of interference. And it's this idea of, and I think Richard kind of talks about, it's like an interference pattern, which is exactly what she's talking about with the conditioning. So what we learn up until the age of 6, this is effectively, we're learning our own interference patterns, aren't we? Because we're learning, don't be yourself, be this person to be more loved or respected or belong or taken care of or whatever it is, right? So we're almost learning what are our interference patterns. And then the 44 moves to teamwork. And I just see these 3 chairs. I'm like, there's the team, baby. There's the team. It's like, how can we understand our needs as a child? Because that's what the child chair is all about. How can we, materialize those as the adolescent? Like, what does that mean? How do I actually learn to emote? Because often that's what happens in the teen years. And Michelle talks to this. This is where we're actually like practicing the things that we've learned. And then the adult is where we are basically going back to the child and fulfilling those needs. We're actually, within the adolescent, we're starting to allow ourselves and practice the things that are no longer interference patterns. They're alignment. They're the truth. They're our heart. They're our soul, so that we can be the adult. So I really loved that. Just that whole idea of the 44 being her core talent and core wound. Anyway, I am going to leave you to it. Enjoy the episode. Hey, beautiful people, and welcome to today's episode. Now, on today's episode, I'm super excited to have a beautiful friend of mine back on to talk about her incredible book. And I am, of course, going to share a lot of the chaos I've been experiencing and how exactly this book is going to help me move through that. So, Michelle Chalfant, Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, my darling. It's so good to be back with you again.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I love chatting to you every time we connect because I feel like I was just saying before I hit record, like even when I'm doing the research on you, I'm like, oh God, I need a day to sit down with your work again because I just love it so much. So let's kick off and really talk about the book. Okay. So the adult chair is something that you've been working with, talking about. The podcast was all focused around that for so long. I know there's been a shift in the name of the podcast, and we'll get to that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about this incredible model that you've been working with for years, and you finally put it into a book and put that book baby out into the world.
I was gestating the book for 3 years is what I tell people. I finally birthed it in May. Yeah. So the adult chair model is really a culmination of so many different teachers that I've had over the years and mentors. And of course, I give so much credit to my clients because, I would try different angles on, how about this, and try different things on with my clients. And man, they loved this because it really helped them to make sense of their lives, like who they are today and how did they get here? Like what exactly happened, without blame or judgment of parenting or anything like that. It really just gave them this framework of, oh, I get what I need to do now. Now I know I have a pathway out of here and I have a pathway into living as a really healthy adult, which of course helps me then have healthy self-worth and healthier relationships and all the things. So that's what the whole book is about. I broke it way down and now it's in black and white. I wrote
I
it.
love it. And I love what you just said because, of course, I've just had a really serendipitous moment because I was sitting in tea ceremony this morning and what came to me was actually a lot of my journey. And this moment where I was sitting in the psychologist office and I got the diagnosis of, well, yes, you officially have depression and panic disorder and you'll never heal from it. And I remember like saying to the psychologist, no, but if you tell me how I got here, I'm sure I can work out how to get out of it. And he was like, oh, Emma, don't be silly. And obviously that's changed a lot now, but that's what I love about your work is that it helps people understand how they got to where they're at and then gives them a pathway out of it.
Yes, for sure. The whole model is really easy to plug into. And I remember when plugging this into clients, when I used to see clients in person, and I would set up 3 chairs in my office and I would take them through 3 distinct developmental phases of their lives. This is what we call in the adult chair book, the child, the adolescent, and the adult. And I would stand behind each chair and I'd go, okay, when you were 0 to 6, this is what was going on. These are all the things that you learned: emotions and vulnerability, intimacy, spontaneity, passion, all these things. How do you feel your emotions? What are your true emotional needs? And people would look at me like, I didn't learn that. I'm like, yep. And here's the craziest thing. This is probably the craziest thing of all, is that from the ages of 0 to 6, we're building out a roadmap for the rest of our lives to live off of. I mean, this. It's like, I can't even believe that by the time we're 6 years old, this is the framework that we have to live off of. So when we're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, and we're getting into relationships based on this roadmap that was in place by the time we were 6. So clearly we need to update the roadmap. And that's what the book is about. Like, we got to update these roadmaps. So anyway, so that's the first phase. And then the second phase is the ego development. And that's where I go really deep into what we call the adolescent chair. So this is where we learn, we're truly like, how do I stay connected? How do I fit in? So if you think I'm acting like stupid, let's just say, and you're a friend of mine on the playground, I'm going to change that. I'll never do that again. And I thought I was being funny. So we start covering up that true self. Honestly, even earlier than 6, but it really comes online and we learn it from being in school. We learn from our parents. We learn from our siblings. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't cry. I shouldn't talk about emotions. I need not feel that. We learn all of these things and we really learn how to be someone that fits in with people out there. So call it our family, our friend groups, our work groups, whatever it might be. But what happens over all these years is we've just really become more of what we would call the false self, or the true self might glimmer through every once in a while with our passion. But so many of us we live from this perspective of, I just need to fit in. I don't want you to leave me. I got to be loved and all the things. And it's more from a fear-based place, which is of course the place of the ego. Not that the ego is bad, but we just do. So that's the adolescent year. That's where we learn how to do all those things. That's where codependency is formed and you name it, all of those things. So
Yeah,
people
wow.
pleasing,
Mm.
control,
Yeah.
all
I
of
feel
it.
like it's fascinating. I love this idea of also that there's these three very separate chairs.
Mhm.
And I'll let you finish the last chair. And then I really want to go to like how you move people through each
Mhm.
chair before we go into the five pillars of the book.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So then the very last chair is, again, if you had really healthy parenting or role models in your life, then around the age of 25, when that prefrontal cortex comes online and you've had modeling and you just know how to live in the world as a really, really healthy, functioning adult, emotionally and mentally speaking, right? And I've never met anyone that actually lives here full time. I think it's impossible to live here full time. But what happens is most of us get stuck in this adolescent chair, but physically speaking, we grow into adults. So we continue to grow and age, but we function from this more adolescent perspective, which, by the way, is the emotional perspective of a 13-year-old. So think about, is that crazy?
I've got a 13-year-old son, so I'm like, yeah, wow, ouch.
Think about it. So think about when your son, what does he do with his emotions? What do we do when we're really overwhelmed or really stressed? I mean, so many people say things like, "Oh, come on over. We need to go out for a glass of wine." Or come on, when we're little kids and kids are having too many emotions, so many parents will say things like, "You're fine, grow up, get over it," or "Come have a cookie, come have cake." We try to suppress it somehow. So again, we're learning all these things growing up. And then when we're adults, we're still doing that thing. We're still doing those
Mm.
things. We don't know what's the healthiest way. Well, if the people that were role modeling for me didn't know what to do with their stuff, how in the world are we supposed to know as we're adults? So that's the whole first part one of the book. And I have put so many examples in real life, everyday examples in this book. So people will relate. The feedback has been amazing. People are like, "Oh my God, I so relate to this." But I also put exercises. So it's really like this transformational journey that you take as you're reading the book. You can listen to it on Audible or read it, but people tell me, "Oh my gosh, like at the end of that chapter, I stopped and I did your journaling prompts and the exercises and I see all my stuff now." I said, "Great, you're updating that roadmap." So
Mm.
that's the whole goal of part one of the book, are the three chairs and really understanding who you are and how you got this way.
And I love that. Again, what you said right at the beginning, like it's not about blame. It's not about,
Mm-mm.
oh my God, my parents did this. I think one of the things that I reflect on my childhood is, like my mum was an undiagnosed anorexic, my dad was a high functioning alcoholic, but I actually remember a lot of peace in my childhood. Now, there was also trauma because mum was a narcissist and there was all of this other stuff going on. But I think what's really fascinating about my childhood that really helped me understand is that because there was no violence, there was no um, like, and again, I get that I did experience trauma, but I had so much trauma with my friends had so much trauma, and I was kind of
Mhm.
like, oh, like I'm good. And I think one of the things that I learned is growing up in that environment and not having these extreme responses to the dysfunction. I think a lot of that was really powerful for me in as I grew and evolved because I could actually see how my parents were really just doing the best they possibly could with what they had because I didn't feel, I mean, yes, I did with my mum especially, but I wasn't so like, I don't know, traumatized by it. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's crazy as we grow up thinking this is normal. And really, we start to discover that it's so not normal.
Yeah, and I remember thinking like, "Well, isn't everyone's family like mine?" Like, it's just like we kind of think that way, right? Or, my friends have a little different family, but we're all sort of the same is how we kind of grow up. And then as we get older, we realize actually we're all pretty unique with how we're
Mm,
raised. So,
mm.
yeah.
What I think is fascinating on that is I always thought all my friends had better families and life was so much easier for them. And then as
Mhm.
I grew up and now doing what I do, I'm like, whoa, I think that's why I've got a new appreciation for my childhood because I think actually I had it really good compared to, it wasn't perfect, but
Mhm.
compared to so many other people. because yeah, for me, I have this perception that everyone else, well, at least as a kid, everyone else was like pissing it in. They were doing so well, it was easy, but really that so wasn't true. They were so busy just being that version of themselves that received the love or attention or whatever they needed, as opposed to being the truth of who they are because of whatever trauma they were being exposed to.
And so many people I find have a hard time owning their reality, which is honestly pillar one, but I just want to talk about it based on
Yeah,
what
let's
you're
get in
saying.
there.
And again, I, I'm not here to judge anybody. I want everyone to really hear me say that this just is what it is. The parents that we had were the parents that we had. But I remember working with people, and they, no matter what, would always say, most of the time people really wanted to protect their parents, which is fine. That's fine with me. But there were some people that had really pretty hard childhoods, and they were like, well, my dad didn't mean it, or da 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 da. And I'm like, I know he didn't, but we need to name what was real for us growing up to help us to actually move through it and get on the other side of it. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. And, I think I'm absolutely one of those people. I absolutely was like rose colored glasses. My
Yeah.
parents are perfect. I remember saying, no, that's a decision that I made.
Yeah.
No, actually, it was something that was in response to that was going on. And for me personally, like I've only recently in the last, I'm going to say sort of maybe 2 years, fully admitted that my mum was a narcissist and that I experienced that narcissistic abuse because I kept minimizing it. I kept
Yeah.
saying, well, it wasn't that bad and blah, 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 blah. But, I'm now at a time in my life where I'm seeing all the consequences of that trauma
Hmm.
that I'm now actively healing. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I see how I was just minimizing something. And it doesn't make me love my mum any less. I mean, she's gone now, but
Hmm.
actually, I think I've got to a place where I have more compassion because I'm like, well, dude, like, and I don't know what happened in her childhood. And she's got some pretty,
Hmm.
some things came out in the last few years of her life that I was like, whoa, did not see that coming. So I think that fully owning who she was, who my dad was,
Hmm.
really helped me have more compassion for them, as well as helping me heal the truth instead of wearing my rose colored glasses all the time.
Totally. And I honestly, and I've always said this throughout my whole career, I don't like labels. I do not like to sit and say, oh, my mom was this or my dad was this, or I don't like that. But what I have found is when we have a deeper understanding of what was going on when we were being raised by whomever, or even the person we're dating, for God's sake, it could be anybody. But to say, oh gosh, that's what was going on with my mom. When I remember sitting with clients and the word narcissism was kind of just coming out,
Mm.
like more mainstreamy, like maybe 10 or 12 years ago. And I'd be like, oh, I think this is that narcissism thing. And I would just
Mm.
tell my clients like, hey, I just want to understand where you are today. So go home and just Google this word and see, and come back next week and let me know, like, how does that resonate on it? People would come back like, oh my God, or hey, maybe this was going, are you sure your dad wasn't an alcoholic? Again, I was never sitting here blaming anybody, but it helps us, as you're saying, like as kids growing up, like, oh,
Mm.
that's what it is. I remember when I figured out, oh, wait, this thing called codependency. And
Mm.
and by the way, being an empath, that's me. I did not know why I was so exhausted all the time. I did not know why I was overextending myself all the time. I did not know why I was resentful when people would ask me to do something. Can you do this for me? I'm like, I'm already doing 50 things over here. I don't have time to do that. And when I started learning about codependency, I was like, oh, now it makes sense. So I learned about it, dropped the label, and then climbed into my adult chair is really truly what I did. I was like, okay, so then how do I get healthy? What do I need to do? I understand that that's what I've been doing many, many, many years of my life is the codependency thing. I just don't want to do it anymore. I'm done with it. And considering the fact that I'm an empath, nobody talked about that when I was growing up. I learned
Mm.
about that in my 20s. Oh, this is why I'm taking a nap every day at noon, even in
Yeah.
my 20s. No wonder.
I love this as well because I feel like so much of this journey is, especially in our world and people who listen to this podcast, we learn so many things. And I
Mhm.
know for me, one of the real time journeys for me is not getting attached to the label of narcissistic abuse,
Yeah.
because there is this fine line between, okay, yes, it happened, and I just really want to understand it as, the pattern, so that I can then heal the pattern, change the pattern.
Mhm.
And one of
Yeah.
the things I've become really aware of is there was a time there that I was sitting in, like, I was wearing my narcissistic abuse victim hat, and I'm like,
Yes.
whoa, hang on a second, this is affecting my entire
Yep.
everything. And
Yep.
I had this real pivotal moment because when I was healing from depression and panic disorder, I was really aware not to wear the identity as a hat. Like, I was like,
Mhm.
no, that is not who I am. This is something I'm doing. And I think
Yes.
it's so important for us to understand that. So learning it is great, but making sure it doesn't become a part of our identity, because I definitely resonate with the whole codependence thing. And, growing up and even into I'm going to say until I hit 40 and I started training to become a master coach. And then I was like, oh, right, mum was an anorexic, dad was an alcoholic. Like, those labels never even existed for me. It was just kind of like dysfunctional behavior. It was very different. But yeah, I'm just
Same.
geeking out on your human design over here. And I think, being an emotional generator, I think it's going to be really resonant to those listening, that codependence piece, like, well, I have the energy, so I'll do it. And it becomes a way that we receive love and we get really stuck in the obligation. And that's where we, hit functional burnout.
Absolutely. And I always had wondered that because being a generator, I'm like, why do I get tired? But it was interesting because I started taking less and less and less naps when I learned boundaries.
Yeah.
I had to learn boundaries. And I remember like when my kids were younger and they were, a friend of mine would say, "Oh, would you mind taking my kids to school for me? I've got a dental appointment." And I remember feeling so angry. I'm like, I love this girl. What's wrong with me? I was so fried out. That was the
Yeah.
problem.
And that's the thing, like, that's why you're tired as a generator. And you're
Mhm.
probably in what we call functional burnout. So
Yeah.
what happens is that you can still operate, like, you can still show up and drop the kids to school, but you have no energy, no passion, no connection to your
Mhm.
sacral. Your body's no longer, it's like, all right, you're not listening. I'm not telling you anymore. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, and I think so many generators, especially entrepreneurs and mums, like, there's so many of them living in functional burnout and not understanding why they feel the way they do. And it's because that obligation, that codependence, that this is who I have
Mhm.
to be for others to feel safe.
And we're praised and celebrated for that too. One last point I want to ask you about because this is what happened with me. So I was an empath, I was a codependent, and I had all this energy, but yet I was burning out at the same time. And people then would almost not celebrate me, but be amazed at what I could get done in a day. They would
Yeah.
say to me. And the term that they would use is like, you can bust it out like I've never seen anybody. I'm like, oh, yeah, I can multitask. I can do 50 things in one day. And people would say to me, I can't believe how much you get done in a way. I would be exhausted. I'm like, no, I'm not exhausted. I can handle it. So it was like the more validation I got. Now I know. I didn't know then, like 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Oh, I'm a generator. Who
Mm,
knew? And it's
mm.
like I've got this Ferrari engine inside of me and I can go. But it wasn't until probably about maybe 5 years ago. And God bless, thank God I learned about my human design because that's when it started all coming together as far as working too much, taking too much on. And I had been working on codependency and all of that for many, many years. But human design helped me in a huge way, learning, oh, I gotta take better care of myself. This,
Yeah.
adrenal fatigue isn't, I can't do this to my body anymore. Do you find a
Yeah.
lot of people do that are generators?
So yeah, I definitely feel like, as generators, manifesting generators, because we're the ones that have the energy,
Mhm.
we learn really early on that if we're helpful and supportive and we do all the things other people want us to do, then we get praised for it. I think one of the big challenges for you specifically in your chart is your undefined root center. I would guess that a
Mhm.
parent, Maybe people around you have a defined root center. So you're actually feeling the pressure to get things done and to be productive, but you actually don't have that consistent energy. So that actually, and the root center is aligned to our adrenals. So that does push us into adrenal fatigue, because I'm the same. I'm a manifesting generator. I have a lot of energy, but I don't have a defined root center. So I have to be very conscious of, when do I feel like I'm forcing myself to be productive? Because that's when I'm in my conditioning. That's not a real, like, that's not energy. That's not something I have energy for per se. So that's what I love about human design, is that we can really dial into what specifically we are designed to be, as opposed to these areas like whether it's the codependence. And I wonder, because you don't have the gate 19, and the gate 19 is the shadow of codependence. So I wonder if maybe your mum had the 19 or has the 19.
She was
Like,
codependent for sure.
yeah. And I feel like it's like, again, this is your conditioned behavior. So it's not even that, like, it's that tendency for you to then move into the higher expressions of it. It's just so deeply conditioned into your subconscious mind that that's who you need to be. So I think that in itself is super fascinating. Are you looking to build a successful human design or astrology business? Do you wish that you had your own chart tool on your website, so you don't have to send people somewhere else to get it? Bodygraph.com provides all the resources you need to turn this vision into a reality. We use this incredible software in our business to provide charts and custom reading reports at the click of a button, generate leads, and bring in lots of passive revenue. Bodygraph.com has already helped coaches and entrepreneurs generate over $2.5 million in revenue. If you're ready to take your business seriously, start with a free trial and use the code Human Design Podcast to get 30% off for 6 months. Here's what you can do with Bodygraph.com. Embed stunning charts directly into your website, build personalized lead magnets to grow your email list, create and sell detailed reading reports, and even use their free website builder to get started fast. Bodygraph.com is the ultimate all-in-one platform for building your human design or astrology business. If you're ready to join the community of successful entrepreneurs, visit bodygraph.com and start building your dream business today. Follow the link in the show notes and use the code Human Design Podcast to get 30% off for 6 months. The other thing I have to say, it's a little bit off topic, but I was just looking at your chart again, and you are the cross of the Sphinx, right? And for the listeners, especially listeners who listen to my secret podcast, I just got to say, what the actual fuck? Like, my entire life, I was just talking to you before I hit play or record about all the people I met in Austin, and like 2 of them were crosses of the Sphinx. I had another cross of the Sphinx yesterday.
Wow.
They're everywhere. And I even pulled the Phoenix card. So the Sphinx in human design is all about this energy. So you're a person who helps people change direction. So you will often find that people come to you and they say, I feel lost. I don't know who I am and I don't know where I'm going. And your Sphinx energy goes, cool, let's give you that 90-degree turn that you're looking for. Let's head you in the other direction. And I've just had Sphinxes coming out of the woodwork everywhere, and I feel this massive shift in my life. So I just wanted to celebrate that you're another one that's telling me, I'm like, yay, I'm so going in this new direction.
I feel like I'm moving in a new direction too. That's the Sphinx. I feel like I'm in between 2 worlds right now. And I'm like, what is going on? Something's changing. I can't tell what it is. So I'm just staying present.
And that's the beauty of the Sphinx. So one of the things that you want to know about as a Sphinx is that you will have times in your life where you just feel so lost and empty, and it's almost like you're deeply afraid of the emptiness that you feel inside. Like, why do I not have any inspiration? And this is actually a pivotal moment for you, because the emptiness is making space for the creative spark. The creative spark is going to take you in a new direction, but you can't make that happen with your mind. You have to make space for it to initiate in you. And then, being a generator, then things going to show up in your external reality. You're going to respond to it and you're going to go in a new direction. So yes, does that resonate with you?
That is like spot on. Yeah, because I feel this void. It's like I'm in
Mhm.
this space. I'm like, okay, and what's coming? And I just keep sitting in it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I do have a deep level of trust now. I went through some things in my company many years ago, and it really taught me a lot about living in the present moment and waiting. And I
Mm.
wait, and I say to everybody now, I don't know whatever it is. I'm going to wait for the energy to arrive. It will point me in the right direction, and I have this trust around it. Emma, I don't know. I'm so grateful because
Mm.
I would be spinning out of control if this were 5 to 10 years ago. And I'm like, let's see
I
what's
love it.
coming. How
And
long do we sit in the energy of the Sphinx before the next thing reveals?
well, who knows? I mean, I think that's the whole point. I think one of the biggest challenges is, you've got the gate one in your personality sun, which is the feeling of the void. In its
Yeah.
shadow,
Hmm.
it really sits in this void. But I believe from my experience, the void will be as long as the void needs to be. However, if you
Mm.
don't resist said void, then it's
Yeah.
going to be less time. And it sounds like, you're quite comfortable sitting in the nothingness.
Yeah.
And that means that there's space for the creative spark to come in, because that's what the nothingness is all about. And I just have to respond to the beauty of the way you just explained your emotional authority. Like, I just slow down. Like, yes, that's the way both you and I are designed to make decisions, like over time, not instantly. So
Yes.
you're just so in alignment, naturally in alignment with your design. But let's get back to the adult chair. I
Yes.
know we've
Yes.
spoken about pillar one. Let's head into pillar two.
Okay, so pillar one is I own my reality. And I know we just talked about it, sort of. And I just want to say one thing about owning our reality. And if I could just give an example around it, because some people go, well, what exactly does that mean? I own my reality. You want me to blame myself? I'm like, not at all. But I think we do have to name the pink elephant in the middle of the room that you've been walking around for the last many, many years.
Yeah.
So some of the ideas, some of the examples that I give when it comes to owning your reality, because here's the thing, this book is The Adult Chair: Get Unstuck, Claim Your Power, and Transform Your Life. So I'm all about getting unstuck. How do you get unstuck? Own your reality. What are you not naming that is right there in front of you that you don't want to name, that you don't want to see it? It's like we put the blinders on. Let me give you a couple examples. These are the clients that would say to me, I can't believe, they'd come and sit in my office. And I always said that my office was a sacred vault for anybody and it would never leave my office. But people would come in and sit and say to me, I can't believe I'm going to say this to you, Michelle. I'm not in love with my partner anymore. And I haven't been for many years. And I think I want to leave. I'm like, awesome. Okay. Thank you for sharing. And then, of course, what do we say next? Typically, when we say that out loud, we go, oh, I feel like, an elephant just got up off my chest. I can breathe
Yeah.
again. It's like, yes. So it doesn't mean you're going to leave your partner. It means I said it out loud. I named it, because when we don't name it, when we don't own it, we're blocking the energy. We're blocking ourselves from moving forward. We're blocking change, and we're living with unstuckness. We're living stuck and not getting unstuck. So, and I remember one specific, one of my recent, I don't see clients anymore, but when I did, it was right before I closed my practice, right around COVID time. And she came in, she goes, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I want to leave my husband. I said, and she started crying. And I said, okay, great. Thank you. Let's take a breath, and she's okay. And anyway, what came of it was she didn't know how to set boundaries. She didn't know how to have a conversation with him. It was all this stuff that came from saying that out loud. It
Yeah.
completely changed her relationship. She did not end the relationship, but she did learn. And I taught her, he ended up coming in. I taught them how to communicate with each other. I taught her how to set boundaries. I taught her how to feel what her needs were, which is the child chair, and then express them from your adult chair to your husband. It changed their relationship, but she was willing to say the thing out loud that she didn't want to say. So
Mm.
whether it be, hey, I'm drinking, I used to have clients that come in and go, I think I'm drinking too much. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. I'm like, okay, so what are we going to do about it? There's no
Mm.
judgment or shame. Just
No.
name it, own it. Doesn't mean put it on Facebook or Instagram, just for
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
Say it. You got to name it. Other people would come in and go, I think my kid has ADHD. The teachers have sent notes home for 3 years. I don't want to say that out loud, but I think he does. I'm like, let's do something about it. Oftentimes, again, we're not living from our adult, because our adult would say, okay, let's come up with a plan. Let's go do the next thing. So, anyway, to get unstuck on your reality. Number two, the second pillar is, and I really sat with the second pillar because something, and again, these 5 pillars are things that I taught my clients over the course of 25 years,
Yeah.
clients, live events, online courses, whatever I teach. These are the 5 things I most talked about. So the second thing is I practice self-compassion. The reason I liked this was self-compassion leads to self-worth, which so many people have issues with, self-love. I had issues with that, and self-worth, and this self-compassion helps. So it helps with self-worth, self-love, and self-esteem. Self-compassion helps with confidence. It helps to balance out the inner critic. So many things come from practicing self-compassion. I don't know that I need to speak more about self-compassion.
I
I
know.
think
I
people
think it's beautiful. And just to say, from a human design perspective, you do have an undefined will center, which is the house of self worth. So often people who have an undefined will center are people that need to consciously build their self worth through
yes.
practice.
Yes. I think that's really big in my chart, isn't it? That's
Hmm.
what I came here to do, I think, is overcome that or build that out. And
There's a lot.
I have worked on that since I was probably 20 years old. So it's been a
Yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
I had such negative ruminating thoughts in my teens and 20s. And I said, I think what I need to do is learn how to love myself because I certainly feel like I hate myself. Anyway, so
Mm,
self compassion was really big for me. Having that voice that was my biggest cheerleader, that was like the grandmother that I didn't have, that was so loving and kind, and really hear and reaching for that voice when I couldn't find it in my head. I'd go, if I had a loving, kind grandmother that was here, what would she say? Or my best friend, what would she say? Anyway, the third one is I feel my emotions. My God, if I had $1 for every person I talked to about their emotions, I'd be
mm.
millionaire. So I feel my emotions is I can't tell you how many people I sat with and I'd say, so how does that make you feel? And they go, what do you mean? I'm like,
Oh
how does it make
no,
you feel?
far out. I feel like that was me all those years ago. Like, what feeling?
Same.
What do you mean feeling? I broke my arm as a kid and I'm like, how come I can't feel anything? The bone's sticking through the skin, but I still can't feel anything. Like,
Oh my
I was
gosh.
so shut down as a kid.
Yeah. Feeling our emotions is huge. So in the book, I go through exactly how we do that. It doesn't mean you have to name them, but can you feel them in your body? I have a knot in my stomach. When you said that to me, it gave me a knot in my stomach. Awesome. Sit with a knot. You don't have to fix it. It's an energy and it will actually start to move if you just allow it to be there. We're energy beings, as you know. So when we sit with our stuff that's inside of us, it actually moves through us. Energy is always moving. We get stuck when we don't allow things to move through. So I feel my emotions. Number 4 is, I love this one. I own my triggers.
Mm,
You know, most of us think that triggers, it's about you hurt me. And here's the problem. No one's ever taught us how to work with our triggers. And really our triggers are our own beliefs that we feel about ourselves. So
yeah.
I might feel, and I have a 7-step trigger process in the book. It's like, well, what am I supposed to do when I get triggered? I'm like, well, first of all, it's yours. You have to own it, that it's yours. It's your belief. So let's say, Emma, you say something to me and I'm offended. I've got to take a look in the mirror and go, wait, what about what Emma said to me? How is it making me feel?
Yeah.
Well, it made me angry. Okay, what's below the anger? And you just keep going down, 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 down and find the root cause. Once you find the root cause, then you do that work. So the root cause, of course, is commonly, I don't love myself. I hate myself. I don't matter. I'm invisible. I'm unlovable. We all have very similar beliefs at the core. And then we start working with those beliefs. And I walk people exactly through how you do that. So I love working with triggers. And then the last one is I set healthy boundaries. So again,
Mhm.
I had no idea how to set boundaries, but I have learned. I have a beautiful boundary course that people can take. It's like, I love boundaries because they're not as simple as a script. And
Mm.
they're about the energy. It's about what we feel. It's about having self-worth and self-value. So we even think to speak up for ourselves. So anyway, I have a whole course
Oof.
on that. Yeah.
I love that. I feel like triggers and boundaries are so incredibly important. And I do
Mhm.
feel like this trigger piece in the world that we're living in at the moment, so many people are, you trigger me. No,
Yeah.
you trigger yourself, you know?
Yeah.
And I know that for me personally, I've been going through a process where, not so much now, but in the last 12 months, I've been so deeply triggered.
Mm,
And it's really been this journey of coming back to myself and, well, what is that person taking that action? What have I made that mean about me? Because that's what my trigger's all about. And being able to actually give myself what I need, which is really strong, hardcore boundaries that honestly the other person involved does not like, doesn't want a bar of it. But and at the end of the day, like, this is actually me in my, my inner child chair going, this is what I need. I need you cannot come and tell me how to behave and what I can and can't do and
mhm,
dictate the rules of the game and all this sort of stuff. So that boundary has been fundamental. It hasn't always been easy to maintain, I will say, like, because
mhm,
it then triggers other stuff in me, like, oh God, people don't love me when I put boundaries up,
mhm,
so I love this process because you can see it. And I think the biggest thing, one of the things I love to talk about a lot, is all we've got to do is become aware of the things we're unconscious to, because once we become aware, then we're in the driver's seat. Then we have the choice to make a change if we want to. So I feel
mhm.
like triggers and boundaries, I mean, self-worth, of course, all of it is so incredibly important. But when we actually do the work there, not spend 80% of our time focusing on these things, because then we're just going to create more of it. But when we're really, we step up, take radical responsibility about it, and commit to these things, then these are the simple yet profound things that can change the outcomes in our life.
100%. And that, again, the whole second half of the book walks people through how to do it. And that's what irritated me in my when I really got on my path of doing my own personal work was, and again, things are different now. This is way back in the 90s when I started my journey, but there wasn't the how to. And I was like, I don't want to read a book. I don't want to, I need to really, I want you to break down simplicity, simply, how do I do this? How do I love myself? How do I improve my relationship? And I said, and I've had many people say, this book should be in schools. Like by the time
Mm,
you're 18, you should have read this book. Hopefully by the time you're 13 or 14, read this book so you understand what the heck is going on with yourself and in the world that you're living in. But at the very least, by the time you're 18, but not there yet. I do have some
mm,
of my adult chair coach. I have a coaching program. So some of my coaches are wanting to bring it into the schools. And I said, oh,
yeah.
please, 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 please.
Oh my God, I think that's such a great idea. Yeah, we want to build something for schools with human design for the same
Oh,
reason, like,
everyone should know their human design. It's a
yeah,
blueprint for who you are in the world, like for your whole life. It's crazy.
yeah.
I love it. I agree.
Mm, I love it. So,
The the adult chair plus human design would change the planet. No joke. Like,
exactly, right? It's a winning
yes,
combination.
it really is.
Yeah, I love it. So
It is.
good. So tell us about this second part of the book, like, because I'm a line 5, you're a 4-6 profile, and you actually said something that's very line 6. Like, I don't want to read a book. Give me the practical things so I can go and run this for myself, work this out for myself. Because it's that role model energy. Like, I'm going to go work it out. But
Yes.
don't expect me to take in lots of information. That's what I'm not here to do. Like, give me this process, then I'm going to work this out. I love it. And for me, I'm a line 5, so I love this part of the second part of the book. How do I practically apply this in my life? So let's talk a bit to that.
Yeah. So again, the whole second half of the book are the 5 pillars that I'm walking you through with, again, real life examples. So when I'm talking about, let's say, how do I feel my emotion? I've got my emotions. I've got examples in there of someone that can't, what it looks like. What does that sound like if someone can't feel their emotions? And then at the end of that chapter, there are exercises in the book that walk you through. What was your childhood like? What happened from you from this age to this age? And you start filling it out and it's like, oh, this is where I need to work. Oh, this makes sense. Close your eyes. Some of it is even like a meditation that you're reading, closing your eyes and then answering in the book. So again, it's
Mm,
walking you through. So that was my hope, was that people would finish the book and feel in some way, shape, or form transformed.
mm.
And
Oh my
this is
God, I
the
love that.
feedback I keep getting. People are like, "Oh my God, my life feels so different." I'm like, good. And it's not the kind of book where you're going to read it and put it down and walk away from. It's like human design in that These are things that you incorporate into your life and you'll use the rest of your life. You don't
Yeah.
stop learning how to feel your emotions, or once you learn, your life is changed forever. Once you become or develop self-compassion in your life, that doesn't stop. Once you learn
Mm.
how to work triggers, I can work a trigger now, like with my eyes closed. Like, oh, I know what to do. Boom, 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 boom. And I move it through. I'm so much more emotionally regulated because I know how to work triggers. My emotions
Mm.
were like up and down, and earlier, the first part of my life. And now that doesn't happen anymore. I'm so much more
Yeah.
relaxed and calm and regulated. So these are things
Mm.
you're going to use the rest of your life.
Do you know what I love about that? It sounds really similar to my book, because I had this whole idea. Um, I don't know if we've ever really talked about the Gene Keys, but the Gene Keys, written by Richard Rudd, I'm like, I
Yes.
take this book everywhere. So sometimes I'll take the big, massive physical book, but I have both the audio books of his. So I take them everywhere because I always want to, there's always an opportunity for me to look at something. Maybe I'm triggered. Maybe there's something that just feels amazing. So I'm always like, oh, I want to dive into that. So that was a goal for me with my book. I want my book to be something that someone that they want to take everywhere because they're running the experiment. I feel like your book sounds the same in
Yes.
the fact that it's something that people want to take with them because they're living the experiment every day and they're wanting to make sure that, oh wow, I've just been triggered. Hang on a second, I'm just going to double check. Yep, step 1, step 2, step 3, so that
Yes.
they can grow and evolve in real time.
Yes, definitely. And it's the kind of book, kind of like yours, where people are buying it for their friends. Like, oh my gosh, everyone I know needs to have this book. It's kind of like what you're saying. It's just a book that humans need, period. Period.
I love
It's
that.
basic life skills that will change the way you have a relationship, number one, with yourself. Who doesn't need more self-worth and self-love? We all do,
Yeah.
and self-esteem. And number two, how you relate to others. And I'm not just talking about a partnership, but how do you talk to your mom, your dad, your kids, your friends, your partner, your boss? How do we do that in a healthy
Mm.
way? That's what living your adult chair is all about. And that's what the whole second half of the book is all about. I teach you exactly how to do that.
Oh my God, I love it. I actually had a situation with my youngest son last night and I walked away and I'm like, right, I'm just going over here. I'm looking at a specific part of my design. It was actually my Gene Keys, my pathway of challenge. I'm like, fuck, there it is. So I'm literally projecting my stuff onto him. And I just had this moment of like, wow, okay, hang on, learning moment, step back. What you think you see is not what you see. It's actually part of your conditioning. And I just feel like this is why all of this work is so incredibly powerful because like for me, I won't do that again. Like
Yes.
that's a fundamental shift that's
Yes.
just helped me move from the shadow expression of my gate 37, which is my most prominent energy, into the gift of that. And I can change and tweak my story. So I feel like there is part of me that wants to geek out and get like your book and go, okay, right, how does this apply to the rest of my design? It's gonna like that sounds really fun. Um,
I love
what
it.
I'm also curious about is because we have so many listeners that are building a business,
Mhm.
maybe they've got a side hustle, they're coming out of corporate. So I really want to ask, like, how has the work that you've done, specifically that's gone into the adult chair,
Mhm.
actually helped you build a business that feels aligned and maybe
Mhm.
shift when you need to shift? I mean, you've just changed the name of your podcast,
Mhm.
recently. So, how have you used the work that you've done to guide you in business?
Great question. When we live in our adult chair, we're living a soul aligned life. So
Mm.
I've been able to clean up a lot of the areas in my life where it was disconnecting me from myself. So, for example, when I was emotionally dysregulating, meaning I grew up, and I love this about myself, and I don't say this but with any shame at all. I disassociated when I was a child. I grew up with a mom and a dad, much like you. Like, I loved them, they loved me. My father's identical twin was a narcissist and a rager and hated my mom, and he was over at our house all the time. He was my dad's
Yeah.
identical twin. He was not married, did not have kids, and he and my dad were very close. My dad was soft, loving, kind, like a marshmallow with no boundaries.
Wow.
So when my uncle would come over, nobody would stop him. There were no boundaries. My mom was 14 years younger than my dad. She was very young compared to my dad. She was like 22 when she got married. My dad was in his 30s already. So she didn't have strong boundaries. Her mother died when she was 6. So it's like it was a perfect storm. So there were no boundaries. So I learned, thank God, to disassociate. I would just leave. But what I realized was, fast forwarding now I'm getting into relationships. I'm in my 20s. Now I'm getting married and I'm 30 and all these things. I was still disassociating when I would see and guess. Oh, and this is the perfect thing, Emma. So my uncle would, what is it called? Purse his lip, like he would
Mhm.
like tighten his lips like this before he'd rage. Well, my husband is not a rager, but when he would get angry, guess what he would do? Even when he'd get
Oh,
like frustrated with the
stop it.
dog, when he'd get mad at the dog, right? Because the dog was barking or something, he would, guess what? Do
Percy's
the same
lips.
thing to his lips that my uncle did. And guess what I would do?
Wow.
Whoop, I'd float up to the ceiling. So when you ask me, how does this book help in life in general, but in business, right? Or in anything, I learned how to stay anchored into myself because I learned how to stay soul aligned. I learned how to stay with my emotions, how to stay grounded, how to emotionally regulate, how to have that self-compassion. When I was triggered, I learned how to work those triggers. That was the greatest thing in my life. But again, to work a trigger, you got to feel your emotions. You got to have the
Mhm.
self-compassion. Everything kind of goes together like a big puzzle. But it taught me also in business. Like you started out saying, I'm in the middle of, what did you say, of the Sphinx energy?
Yep.
It's like, let me tell you what, 5 years ago, even 5 years ago, if I was in this energy then, I would have been overwhelmed, stressed. What the hell's going on? Why don't I feel what's going on? I'm so intuitive. Why am I not getting the next intuitive hit? I feel like I'm in a void. This is stressing me out. I am so relaxed right now. I'm like, I'm good. I'm waiting. I know how to do this because I've practiced everything in this book. I've not that
Yeah,
I've mastered it because I'm human. I haven't mastered everything in
exactly.
the adult chair,
Yeah.
but I practice it and I'm really damn good at it now. So
Mhm.
I know what to do when things come up. So just over the weekend, it was such a great validation for me. My husband was really upset about something. I don't remember. We had like it wasn't an argument, but it kind of was. I can't remember. He had apologized for something. He's like, aren't you going to apologize to me? I was like, what am I apologizing for again? And then he went off. He got so
Whoops.
upset. He got so upset and he went off and he started yelling, you don't ever apologize. And you. And as he's yelling at me, I am so connected to myself. I was online. I was so centered and calm. And I have had this mantra: I will let nothing out there outside of myself disconnect me from me. Nothing. I've preached this to myself. It's been my own personal mantra for at least 5 years. And again, in applying the adult chair, all the stuff in this book, I was able to look at them and stay so anchored. I was anchored and grounded in myself. I did not take what he was saying personally because my truth was, and I will apologize if I've ever hurt anybody. I am very much an apologizer. But I was listening to him and I thought, this isn't mine. I could intuitively, I knew it, I could feel it. And I literally bubbled myself off. I was like, whoop, I put a bubble around myself and I let him go. And he walked out into the garage and slammed the door and he came in maybe 10 minutes later. And I didn't disassociate. I was so solid. And I said, oh my God, this is such great validation of where I have come. I don't know what he's going through, but I will love him and nurture him when he comes back. And he came back in 10 minutes later and he said, I'm so sorry. He said, that was all the things that I wanted to say to my mother my whole life. And I never was able to say it to her.
Wow.
Yep. And I said, thank you for sharing. Thank you for apologizing. And it's okay. And I'm glad that that I could be that for you. And he said, I am really, really sorry. He goes, that was old stuff. I said, it felt really old to me. And then we had a big hug in it and we moved on. I was like, shit, that was so good.
Yeah, wow. I love that.
But old me, honestly, Emma, I would have disassociated when he raised his voice, even at the dog, pursing his lips, all that. Uh, I would have disassociated. I wouldn't even know my name. I would think I was 5 years old. He would ask me a question. Like, I remember one time when the kids were little, he's like, why aren't you disciplining the kids? Say something. And he's looking at me and I'm like, huh? I'd be like out of it because I couldn't
Yeah.
handle someone getting that upset in my environment.
Mm.
Totally, that's gone now. And I didn't do years of trauma therapy either. I literally practiced the stuff in the book and I went hardcore with it. And this is who I am today. Not that I
Mm.
haven't done coaching and therapy, but I didn't do years of trauma therapy. And that was
Yeah.
trauma. It was traumatic for me.
Yeah,
But
and I think that that's the point. Like, I really believe that we are spending a lot of time focused on our trauma.
yep.
And, if where there are ways that we can heal the pattern,
Hmm.
feel the emotion, there are quicker ways, than really being like actively investing our focus, which is
Hmm.
really the most powerful thing we have, in more of what we don't want. I know in my current or recent journey, it's been this real balance of like, okay, how much attention does this need? What are the things that matter? And what are the things that are making this better? And what are the things that are making it worse? And I think that I love this work. I love this book because it really is a beautiful, simple roadmap to
Hmm.
really evolving yourself through whatever area of life or challenge that you're experiencing.
Yeah. I mean, you can pick it up and work on anything at all, and you will find like there's some sort of transformation that's going to happen within you. No doubt about it.
Mm.
No doubt
Oh my
about it. I
God, I
keep
love it.
hearing this over and over again. So,
So
yeah.
good. Well, thank you so much. Where can people actually get the book? Is there a specific link we can put in the show notes? But where else can they get it?
A lot. I mean, I have a lot of Australians that are ordering the book, I believe, right from Amazon. Just
Yeah.
if you go to The Adult Chair, you will find it. It's this book, the green book with the butterfly on the
Mm.
front of it.
Oh my
I
God, it looks
designed this
so
myself.
beautiful.
I designed it myself.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you.
it definitely it's
Transformation.
stunning. Yeah.
Thank you so much. You're going to
Love it.
have two copies. I'm going to send you two.
I love it. Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being with me
Yes.
again. I feel like this has just been beautiful and profound. And yeah, I just love talking to you. Yeah. Oh, I just got the finger.
I was like,
Something to
wait,
respond to.
I forgot to tell you. So what I did was I did this like back in April. I did this like whoever bought the book, I'm going to do this free masterclass for everybody. So I did a masterclass. People went crazy about this masterclass. So I said, okay, I'm going to leave it up. So if your listeners would like, they can find anything out about me if they go to theadultchair.com. But if they go to theadultchair.com/book and just put in like that invoice number, whatever number it is, the receipt number, you can get the masterclass for free because I've left it open. I'm like, I'm just going to leave it open until
Wow.
probably until September. So that
Oh
would
my
be a
God,
link.
that sounds super
It's
exciting.
really good. Yeah. People were like, oh my God, it really takes you more about and into deeper into the book.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love it. So we will put all those details in the
Mhm.
show notes. Again, thank you so much for being with me, my dear
Thank,
friend.
thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And I trust those of you listening got what you needed from today's episode. And I so look forward to having you on the next one. Bye for now.